Welcome to Newscasting Ancient Times. On behalf of the LAMB network, I'm here with Mark David Smith to bring you Brit Hadashah accounts as though they happened today.
Welcome, everybody. I trust your week has been blessed and you've been a blessing to everyone you come in contact with.
Well, I want to thank Mr. Eddie Chumney for joining us last week on Newscasting Ancient Times. Mr. Chumney is the LAMB network reporter who has embedded himself into the roaming followers of Yeshua, the self-proclaimed Messiah of Israel.
Mr. Chumney blessed us with his physical presence, which helped both Sandy and I to kind of get a grasp on this continuous, almost never-ending story, never-ending news story.
Well, during the latter part of the telecast last week, Mark and I took the chance we rarely have to ask Mr. Chumney his views on whether, in his opinion, Yeshua is the Messiah Israel's waiting for.
That's right. And we also got to talk with him a little more on that subject in private after the show.
That's right, Mark. And let me be perfectly clear. Even though we have tremendous respect and admiration for Mr. Chumney's opinion, we reserve the right to do a little more research for ourselves before making our minds up on this most important subject.
That's right. Mr. Chumney did express to us both publicly on air and privately that he does wholeheartedly believe that Yeshua is in fact the Messiah of Israel.
And, you know, he has spent more than 3 months actually living with Yeshua's band of married Talmudim. So that's a pretty good impression to consider.
That's true. That's true. And we do. We have nothing but respect for the man, and especially since he's actually back out there and at it again.
Mr. Eddie Chumney has joined back with the Talmudim on a new journey, and this time it is a completely different scenario than any of the campaigns that they've launched before.
That's true. Instead of going out as a whole complete group all at once, it seems Yeshua has organized.
Yes, Mark, but not organized as a syndicate or a mafia type thing, but he has organized about 70 of his followers or Talmudim into a split.
A split? Yeah, but it's not a split as in splintered groups out doing their own thing.
No, that's not what I meant either. It seems Yeshua appointed 70 of his most trusted Talmudim and sent them on ahead in pairs to every town and place where he himself was about to go.
That's like 35 different directions and places that they're going. That's real interesting. It looks as though, based on the latest report that I have from Mr. Chumney, that he himself has joined those ranks, or maybe it would be better to say he has been chosen to join the ranks of this very elite set of personnel. Basically, Sandy and I have now have an inside channel consisting of some of the most intimate conversations held within this elite group.
Yes. And for this report, Mr. Chumney has given us very specific details of what Yeshua said to this group before sending them out. Yeshua told them, "To be sure, there is a large harvest, but there are few workers. Therefore, plead with the Lord of the harvest that he send workers out to gather in his harvest. Get going now, but pay attention. I am sending you out like lambs among wolves. Don't carry a money belt or a pack, and don't stop to schmooze with people on the road. Whenever you enter a house, first say shalom to the household. If a seeker of shalom is there, your shalom will find its rest with him. And if there isn't, it will return to you. Stay in that same house, eating and drinking what they offer, for a worker deserves his wages. Don't move about from house to house. Whenever you come into a town where they make you welcome, eat what is put in front of you, heal the sick, and tell them the kingdom of God is near you. But whenever you enter a town and they don't make you welcome, go out into the streets and say, even the dust of your town that sticks to your feet, we wipe off as a sign against you. But understand this, the kingdom of God is near. I tell you, it will be more tolerable on the day of judgment for Sodom and then for that town. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Beit Zidai! For if the miracles done in you had been done in Zor and Zidon, they would long ago have put on sackcloth and ashes as evidence that they had changed their ways. But at the judgment, it will be more bearable for Zor and Zidon than for you, and
Wow.
you, Kafar Nahum, you will be exalted to heaven. No,
Wow.
you will be brought down to Sheol. Whoever listens to you listens to me. Also, whoever rejects you rejects me, and whoever rejects me rejects the one who
Wow.
sent me.
Wow. Wow. Bold. Pretty bold.
Yes, but Mark, if the Messiah, and I'm not confessing that he is not just yet, but if the Messiah was slash in he is here right now, wouldn't we want him to be bold?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we want this Messiah to stand up to the religious and political oppressors and the people who worship these men and their rulings?
Well, as long as he actually is the Messiah, yes. But if he is not the Messiah of Israel, well, I guess there's nothing wrong with anyone standing up to those who do oppress. I'm for it. I'm with you.
Yep. There's more to Mr. Chumney's report. Let's see where it goes. He says that the 70 came back jubilant. Lord, they said,
Wow.
with your power, even the demons submit to us. Yeshua said to the 70, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Remember, I have given you authority so you can trample down snakes and scorpions, indeed, all the enemy's forces, and you will remain completely unharmed. Nevertheless, don't be glad that the spirits submit to you. Be glad that your names have been recorded in heaven.
Well,
At that moment, he was filled with joy by the Ruach HaKodesh and said, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, I thank you because you concealed these things from the sophisticated and educated, yet revealed them to ordinary people. Yes, Father, I thank you that it pleased you to do this. My Father has handed over everything to me. Indeed, no one fully knows who the Son is except the Father, and who the Father is except the Son, and those to whom the Son wishes to reveal him. Then, turning to his closest Talmudim, to the 12, he said privately and later revealed to our embedded reporter, how blessed are the eyes that see what you are seeing. Indeed, I tell you that many prophets and kings wanted to see the things you are seeing, but did not see them, and to hear the things you are hearing, but did not hear them.
hmm. Pretty heavy words. Well, there you have it, folks. These are the latest adventures and sayings of Yeshua, the self proclaimed Messiah of Israel, and all those who follow him.
It's certainly some things to consider.
Well, you just be listening to all those words, and they kind of, even though they're addressed to certain societies and towns and people, they're pretty heavy things to even consider ourselves. Mr. Chumney has his work cut out for him if he decides to continue this pilgrimage, in my opinion, anyway. My concern at this point, Sandy, is that he seems to now be reporting from a very personal, almost theological bias. Seriously, almost from a biased point of view here, if Mr. Chumney is becoming fully engaged in this group to the point of no return, which you would assume, the network may need to pull in the reins and find out if he even should be on this assignment. And I kind of agree there. Of course, it is the network's concern and not so much ours. Or is it? I mean, we just read this report word for word, and we didn't hesitate to relay it to our audience as this is what happened. We even expressed at the top of the telecast that we are happy to have him embedded in reporting to us directly. After reading this very detailed, specifically spiritually centered account, well, Sandi, I just don't know, you know?
I do. I hear what you're saying. And I am working my way through this myself.
Yeah. Well, I guess the point is,
Yeah. What is your point, Mark?
well, same as always. The jury is still out on this one, Sandy Lou. At least it is for me. So thank you all for joining us for another edition of Newscasting Ancient Times.
Be a blessing to everyone you meet and have a blessed day.
Thank you. You know, those newscasters need to just get saved, I think.
They do, don't they? They just need to give up their cynicism.
I don't, I mean, I just kind of wonder how I try to make it as real to what I think it could be if this really happened,
Right.
if I were there and kind of following in the background and knew all these different things, you got to, and this is something that I'm kind of centering things on anymore, is that we live in a society now that technology, communication, and transportation has changed the world in the past 100 or so years.
Yes.
Only in the past 100 or so years. Since the early 1900s, technology, communication, and transportation. Those three things. Of course, we're in, what was it? I wrote this down. We're in what's called the industrial age. And, I mean, I stop and think about the differences from back in Yeshua's time. Like, if there really was newscasters and they were following this, people couldn't follow this. How, if him and the 70 are out in northern Israel, going from town to town, how in the world do people in Jerusalem know this? Or southern Israel or whatever, you don't know all these stories.
Somehow they knew a lot, though, because wherever he went, it would get out. It's, it's almost like in the days of old, they had people go out to spread the news.
Yeah.
You have your town criers for local that happened hundreds of 1,000 years later, but nonetheless, news spread. News did spread. I mean, that's why the Pharisees, the Sadducees were after him. That's why people gathered. News spread far and wide. I think of it almost like this. Think of the way they used to send messages, or specifically, if you want to do movie wise, think of LOR. Lord of the Rings. Think about how they got all of the people to know that they were under attack or that they needed to something happened. They would start a fire on a hill, and that fire on the hill, the next person would start the fire on the hill, and et cetera, et cetera. So it would go far and wide. And it's sort of maybe Yeshua created all these burning fires within us, and somehow, that just ignited another one. And it spread, it did spread. So not in the way we do, like a television report or newscast or internet, but it still spread.
Yeah.
He makes a way. I guess he makes a way.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's real interesting. I love thinking about back in those days and different times in history and how they would have done things so differently than what we've done in the past 100 years. And I think it's interesting. I like doing this, what we're doing, and kind of thinking when I'm writing that script, I'm kind of thinking along the lines of how would I really think back there if I'm just getting this report and this report and this report and this report, bring it to today. I mean, what if Yeshua was doing the same thing today? He showed up and he's in a small town and he's going from town to town and what?
The way society is now, they put him in jail if they could.
Yeah.
Prison.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's preachers out there, though, that go from place to place and do stuff, and they're healing people and they're preaching and, all that kind of stuff. They don't get put in jail.
I don't know. I think that there's a lot of persecution that people of truth are facing right now.
Yeah.
And attack from one way or the other. And maybe not, but because the bottom line is, if Yeshua was this day and this hour, nothing would happen to him that wasn't supposed to happen to him.
I'm with you.
It wouldn't be a surprise. Shocker. But what is the same today and yesterday is the cynicism. The outward acceptance or the cynicism.
Very true.
The ones that were the most cynical, it was the learned, the Pharisees, who were the ones that, and they're not all, every Pharisee was, some believed, but the people were hungry. And so the people were the ones that moved greatly. So with him.
Yeah. And it's today you'd have to have a TikTok account or a Pinterest account, or I don't even know what they are anymore. They change so much anymore. You'd have to have one of those accounts and have millions of followers and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's interesting. I love that to think about those things anyway. But so we were talking about spreading news. Let me tell you, there's a movie that came out maybe even a couple of years ago, and you may have seen it with Tom Hanks, and it's called News of the World.
Never saw it.
Okay, so go. I think it takes you back to like about 100, maybe 150 years. And what his character does is take newspapers, because most of the people couldn't read, but there were newspapers made in the big cities. And so what he would do is he would gather these newspapers and go to small town to small town to small town, and he would preset it up where people would pay like a dime to get inside, and they'd sit and he'd stand there and he'd read the newspapers. And that's what he did for a living, is he traveled from town to town, reading the news. And that's how the people got their news.
Wow. I had no idea.
I know. I think it's real interesting. Apparently it's supposed to be kind of accurate for that time of what people did.
I have a question that's going to deviate.
Oh, you always do. You always do.
I've got a couple of questions, but we're going to start with this one. Are you going to be somewhere in a few weeks?
I'm going to be somewhere in a few weeks. I don't know. Let's see. About 2 weeks from now, no, about 3 weeks from now, I'm going to be with you.
That's right. For the Victory Sukkot from lambnetwork.tv and Life of Worship. And it is on from Friday, September 29th through October 6th. And it's going to be great. And listen, guys, I actually had a deadline of August 25th or something. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's too bad the deadline's come and gone, and nobody can sign up and come. You've already closed the gates and closed everything, and that's just too bad, Sam.
Well, it's not too bad because here it is, folks. You can still come because we're not doing the food as we normally have, where we all cook for each other. Everybody's doing their own thing, and then anyway, give you more details.
To lose some weight that week.
You guys, you can still sign up and you can still join Mark and I and Bob and John and others and Adina and others at the Victory Sukkot in Spearman, Texas, the panhandle of Texas. And we are going to have lots of fun. And there's going to be a chili cook-off. There's a talent show that very first Saturday. Hopefully Mark is getting some stuff together and I need to do the same. I haven't even started. And there's going to be archery and I've even heard that Bob has asked for axe throwing. So some of that man stuff.
What?
I heard that Bob asked for some of that stuff.
For what?
Well, like you get those nice axes and you throw it and try to hit
axe throwing.
Axe throwing. I don't know if Andy and Bob have worked that out yet, but I know that Andy's in charge of all of that, and Bob has good suggestions. So, but it's not just that. There's going to be great teaching, great worship, especially the first weekend. Our drummer is going to be there that first weekend, so we're going to have the drum set up and everything for that first weekend, and but he only gets to stay the weekend, so I'm sad. So you just don't want to miss it. And we're going to have lots of other practical teaching and fun and games. And my favorite part, campfire.
What do you mean by practical teaching?
Oh, like preps or oils or preservation of food or I mean, it can be whatever. The people, I don't know the classes that the people dance. There's dance. I don't know all the classes that people are bringing, but hopefully they'll let me know soon because I got to get it out to everybody. But it's going to be good, and and I think by what I've heard, we get to mikvah this year. If you choose to, you don't have to, but that means we get to go to the lake and get in that water and mikvah.
Cool.
If you want, and so. And there's a lot more going on. One of the things I love that we do is, besides just have a lot of fun together, is the skits and the laughter and the games, and that makes it just really a lot of fun.
You do realize I can't bring my guitar on the bus?
Well, I will. Can you play a different guitar if I bring one?
I've been playing a little bit. I not much, but a little bit. So we'll see. I've been practicing my Bob Dylan song.
Well, what I was going to ask, I can bring an electric if you'll.
Oh.
Or do you you don't play the electric? You play the acoustic.
What? They're exactly the same.
I can bring an extra guitar.
They're exactly the same instrument. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, just let me know. Just let me know if you want an instrument, and I will bring it. But I didn't figure you'd bring your guitar on the bus. So.
Yeah. Okay, good. We hadn't talked about it, but anyway. So, all right, sounds good. I'm excited about going. Everybody else should be.
They should be.
It's amazing to me how many people I've talked to, especially lately, that are almost surprised to hear that more than half of all the producers on lamb go away for Sukkot. More than half of all the people, all our producers, and people still have been in the Messianic lifestyle for years, and they still don't have a concept of going away for Sukkot or actually, living in a temporary dwelling, because, that's what the word Sukkot means, is temporary dwelling places, So anyway, it's kind of like, and you're supposed to be putting, that's one of the 3 tithes that you're supposed to be putting away every year so that you can go away. And
every time you get paid, you should put money back.
We wouldn't be able to be going this year if I hadn't done that. When you first put it out there and how much the cost was and everything, I was ready. Matter of fact, I just sent you, as soon as I see it, I just sent you the money.
You did. The first
person. I already had it saved back. I had already put it together like I'm supposed to do. That's because I'm a good religious man.
No, maybe you're obedient to the truth. But that's what shocks me is every year I say start saving, and then we get there and everybody's like, well, I don't have it. And I'm like, what have you been doing?
Yeah. We're not looking.
But we did drop the cost by $150. So
yeah,
that's a good deal.
Still. So anyway, here we are.
Here we are. Join us. Be part of what Lamb and Life of Worship are doing together, and join us.
On the website, below the player, I have what's going on Lamb down there, and there's a banner there. If you'll just flip through those, there's a little bracket on both sides that you can go ahead or back or whatever and find it. Click on it. It'll take you right to sign up and information about the Sukkot. It's right there on the Lamb website. You can't miss it. So, yeah, I guess you could miss it, but, All right. So we're going to go into the next part here, Sandy Lou. But before we do, I want to let everybody know that we have a new show starting on Lamb today. Okay. And in doing that, I'm actually going to play a promo here right now before we go into the second part. This is a lady that she is a certified organizer, and she has people that hire her to come in and physically organize their house, but also spiritually through Torah. In other words, she does the whole deal. It's not just making sure your lives are organized, but are they organized with God and Torah? And she's got a new show coming on today. I'm going to play a quick promo, and then we'll come back. We'll be right back. So she was originally on Brooke Loonsberry's show, Health Begins at Home, years ago on Lamb. and she just finished her new book, and we're promoting that too. And anyway, real excited about that. Besides, Brooke Bloomsbury is going to be coming back on Lamb here real soon, live. Matter of fact, yesterday they were talking in the chat about how they wished that Brooke would do a live show instead of we're playing the old Lamb radio stuff. But anyway, so might look for that. That's going to be on at 1 Eastern today. You might check the Lamb schedule. It'll tell you in times in your area. But I am looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good show. There we go.
Yeah.
Sandy, you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready to
I don't know that I'm ready, but
well, you got me. You got me as a backup, so
that's a good thing.
We'll be right back after this.
We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the streets of gold. We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet.
All right, folks, I have a question for you. Do you ever feel like you're struggling with Yah? That you're struggling with God, that there's this push and this pull, and you have these questions as why, and why am I going through this? Are you sure? Should we be here? What are you doing? Yeah. Probably you have had those questions, the struggle with, the striving with Yah. Let's go to Genesis 32, verse 38. It says, then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Okay, so here we have it right here. Yaakov, Jacob, he struggled with Yah, and once the struggle was over, what happened? He has a new name, a new destiny, new thing that Yah has called him to do. The truth is that in our relationship with God, while we don't stop loving him, sometimes we struggle. Maybe it's in our own accord. Maybe Yah is really trying to get us to pay attention. And whatever the case may be, there's this sort of fight, not literally a fight like this, but this struggle. So why? Why does that happen? Well, it says that we overcome. Bottom line is life is full of all sorts of challenges. And sometimes we're doing our very best and something hits us from the side and we're saying, okay, yeah, I don't understand this. Did you get it right this time? What's going on? Sometimes we struggle against human evil. Sometimes we're fighting for what's true in the eyes of Yah. Sometimes it's even with our family because we're standing up for truth, or something just hits us out of the blue and we're like, Yahweh, did you allow us to go through this difficult situation? Are you testing us? What is the deal here? Are you testing us, our strength, our faith? What are you doing? Well, see, Jacob, he dealt with both these kinds of struggle. First, what did he have? He had physical struggle with Esau, or he was pursued by Esau anyway. And then he experienced the premature death of his wife, Rachel, and there was famine in the land, et cetera, et cetera. Then he struggled with Esau. There's all sorts of things that Jacob faced. Well, there's all sorts of things that you face and I face. It's just the way life is. But why? Is Yah getting it right? Well, of course he is. The name Israel actually means given, in part given to God's chosen people. It teaches us that when it's given to us, that we love Yah and our fellow man with all our hearts. And sometimes it's okay to struggle with our faith in God. We can struggle with Yah, but we're still going to overcome. But we overcome sometimes by surrender, because let me tell you a secret. He's always right. He's always right. He knows what he's doing. Are we always going to understand? Probably never. So let's go to Psalm 103:9. It says, he will not always strive with us, nor will he keep his anger forever. So let's look at this word strive in Hebrew. It's rib, the Hebrew word. It's combat. In the primary sense, it describes this physical battle between two single opponents. Of course, it's also verbal combat and contention, debate, arguing. So it's more than just physical. And let's just say by another easy translation, it takes on almost this legal judicial significance, and strangely, usually with God as acting subject. Since God, as creator, ruler of all, even his chidings have a judicial flavor. That's the Brown's Driver Briggs lexicon. And it goes on as are not likely in error by placing many references where chide and reprove seem to be their best rendering. So the bottom line is, so does it have this judicial sense? Maybe. Well, let's go to David. David struggles that the relationship with God, and actually says it's sometimes a battle zone. Does that resonate with you? Is your relationship with Yahweh sometimes a battle zone? And then David actually says that Yah is the aggressor in the Psalm. Yah is the aggressor. Well, let's go back and read that one more time, just in case you've missed it. He will not always strive with us, nor will he keep his anger forever. Psalm 103:9. So here it almost sounds through David that Yah is the aggressor. So Yah is choosing to fight with us. We would have expected the opposite. Usually we think we're the ones fighting with him, but it says we will not always have to fight with him. Because David sees something deeper here, something we need to explore. While we may wander, well, at times we're disobedient, well, at times we're contentious, it is Yahweh who fights. He fights to bring our flesh under his dominion, the Yetzer Hara, if you will. He fights to redeem us from the hand of the enemy. He fights our prejudice and our own stubbornness. He fights to get us to the right place on the right path. What? The path of righteousness that leads to rest, that leads to shalom, which is Yeshua. He fights to redeem us from the enemy, because the enemy has his own plans and purposes, and sometimes we play right into his hands. So there is a war. There is a kingdom war for us. Yes. And he gets involved. Is that not a hallelujah that he's going to be involved and fight for you? And it may feel like he's fighting against us, but in reality, he's fighting for us. We're just playing sometimes for the wrong team because our minds have not been renewed, because we haven't been in the word, because we do not trust. And when we are engaged in battle, he's there. And as long as he's engaged in the battle, we are heaven's collateral damage. And that there may be fallout in our lives because we've sometimes chosen to struggle, sometimes chosen to struggle against him and what he wants for us. I've heard this many times. Well, I feel like y'all's moving me like this direction. I just don't want to do it. And I'm finding every way I can, et cetera, et cetera. So we try to go a different direction, yet there's this battle within. And maybe sometimes it manifests without, because y'all's trying to place us in the right place and we don't want to go. Yaakov at the brook is the perfect example, because who fought with Jacob all night? It wasn't to destroy Jacob, but to set him what? As we spoke earlier, to set him on a different path, the path that Yahweh had called him to. But it was a fight to the finish, and he got a new identity when he lost the battle. Okay, what did I just say? When Yaakov lost the battle with Yah, then there was a victory. It seems that we have to contend sometimes with him, and maybe we need to surrender. David suggests that the experience of Yah's mercy and grace, Rahum and Chana, are not always going to be the case. At some point, Yah will cease fighting, but rather than bring peace, it could bring judgment, because we've refused to listen. We've refused to jump on his path. And when Yah is battling with us, we are experiencing his care, and his mercy and grace are demonstrated in the battle. But the very worst thing that can ever happen to us is if Yah does start striving for us. If he says, fine, I release you to your own will, your own desire, your own flesh, your own Yetzer Hara. You're not willing to come in line. You're not willing to seek out the truth. You're not willing to trust me. So it's yours. Have you ever had that happen? I've had that happen before, where I thought I really tried to convince the world and myself that this was God's will. And in fact, I think I knew deep down it wasn't. And I had to suffer for that. He finally said, fine, Sandy, it's over. That part is over. Do what you will. And it seems that Yah's a tactical plan, it sometimes is to confront us always at every turn. And we're defeated maybe by his care, defeated in that, oh, there's another battle, because we are needing to get that flesh in line. We need to get that flesh under his influence. And we need to be dragged into battle until we say that, Father, let your will be done. Until we say, okay, your way is not my way, but your way trumps mine. So I surrender to your way. I'm not going to struggle with you anymore. We have to get our flesh to controlled so that we put him on the throne. What do I mean by that? So many times there are areas of our life that we sit on the throne still, even if we call ourselves believers, people of faith, Hebrew roots, whatever you call. Sometimes it's your finances. Sometimes it's his will for you. Sometimes it is your family or something else that you give him everything else in your life, but you're not willing to give him that because you want to sit on that throne, because no matter what you say, you worry and fret and you don't trust who he is. So what's he doing? He's contending with your flesh. And we're going to feel the discomfort when that's going on, maybe even the agony and the wounds that we receive, because we're contending. We're in battle. We're in combat with our king. But what we bleed is only a sign that shalom is coming and that Yah is victorious, and that he wants us to say, okay, I'm yours. Because when we decide to let him reign, when we decide to put our flesh and our ways under him and let his desires become our desires, and remember that he's bought us with a price, we're not even our own, then we're going to find something shift and we're going to be victorious. Maybe we have new vision and a new place to go because there's a promotion there because we stopped fighting. How many times have we ever had our kids or our grandkids or somebody else that is fighting our ideas, our thoughts, our ways, and all we want is the very best for them, but they fight us on it. And when they finally say, okay, and they do what we ask, or they learn what we've wanted them to, they realize that we had their best interest at heart. And that's what Yah is. So if you are feeling like you are struggling, if you feel like you are in a battle, I want you to think about Job even. Should we ask why? Well, we know that sometimes our struggles are not because we've done something. And sometimes they are. Sometimes it's just Yah showing that we are righteous. Job was righteous, but he did do one thing. He said, why? How many times have you said that? I've said it a lot, folks. I've said, why? Why do I have to go through this? See, in the book of Job, that the part that sin, it plays a part in, and it can, guys, sin does play a part sometimes in the challenges and the struggles we face. But sometimes it's not sin. Sometimes it's something else that Yah's trying to do. When you look at the word contend with Job, when it says, here, let me back up. When it says, moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? He that reproveth God, let him answer it. So here we have this word contend again, which is sharov, which is an imperative and means to dry up. Shall he who tells the Almighty to dry up instruct him? Do you really want to instruct me? Yah says, do you really think that's the way it goes? No. Again, Yah's trying to do something. In other words, Job was telling Yah that his suffering was a waste. When you break down the word, it's saying, hey, what you're doing in my life, Father, it's a waste of time. This struggle that I'm having to go through, it's a waste of time. Don't strive with me any longer. Don't contend with me any longer. It's a waste. And should we be telling God that? I don't know about that. The words instruct here are yasor machich, and it sort of brings it's what we translate as reprove, or he who reproves, but yasor has the idea of turning to oneself. And the samach represents a shelter, and the bait can represent our hearts. And so it's let him who finds shelter in his own heart. Are we to find shelter in our own hearts? Well, if Yahweh's there, yeah. So then the Mechik has this idea of proving or showing. So if you want to paraphrase what Job was going through, or Job did, it says, Job, if you ask the Almighty, should I, why, when you can't even understand or comprehend all the other things I'm doing in your life, then show me you can find shelter in your own heart. Can you if you don't understand? No, not in your own way. Otherwise, you just have to trust me on this one. Should that be what we say? Is that what he's telling you right now? Sandi, just trust me on this one. Yeah, there's a struggle. Stop fighting me and let me do my work. Get off the throne and let me do what I'm supposed to do in your life. You may not like it. It may be uncomfortable. You may not understand. You may want to say why. You may want to say it's not fair. But Yah says, really, you want me to tell you why I'm doing something when you don't even understand the smallest of things? Just trust me. Just trust me. He will not contend with us forever. I have a different path for you. That's what he's telling us. He has a different path. If we trust him and let him be in control, let him be in control of every area of your life, not just the ones that you pick and choose. I'll follow his word on this and this. You may say, well, we follow all his word because we're Hebrew roots people, we're Messianic. My experience is that we still are picking and choosing, even in the lifestyle we've chosen. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And in those areas, we're going to face that struggle, that rib, that strive to contend, to oppose, to fight, that physical combat, that verbal comment, that arguing, like in a case of court, that judicial side of y'all saying, well, this is the word, and this is what you've done, and this is where you are. So he will not strive. Are we striving with him? Do we choose it? Are we going to say, okay, I lay my hands down. I trust you. It's hard. I don't understand. And I'm not going to ask why anymore, but I'm going to trust you. Have your way. Mark.
Okay. I'll trust you.
But that's what it's like because we've been battling. It's like, oh,
that was my
I'm going to stop fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. This is good. This is good. There's a good reason why our spiritual walk with the Lord starts with the two words, born again. There's a reason for that. And the reason is that physically we're born and we have to develop ourselves. We have to develop our physical body, our soul, our spirit. Everything about us has to be developed. And as you develop, you also mature. Okay. And you learn how to deal with struggles. I mean, let's 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. We were just, it wasn't us, but it seems like maybe it was on another show. It's just talking about how, it's terrible to put labels on them, like terrible twos and, all of that kind of stuff. It's terrible to put that on them. Yet still, it is because they're struggling with understanding and knowing what to do and trusting your child as it grows has to learn to trust their parents. It's real interesting. I was watching this show, and this couple has a 14-year-old daughter, and the father allows this daughter to be a certain way that's a whole lot less than the mother allows the daughter to be. And the mother is gone most of the time. Okay. And so this daughter has grown to not trust her mother because her mother has to work and be gone, but her father's around and she trusts her father, who is a lot more lenient than the mother. And the 14-year-old gets in extreme major trouble. The reason is because she has learned to trust one, but not the other. See, and so my point is that as we mature physically, growing, and we haven't even come to the next part yet, is there's always going to be struggles, and especially in the society we live in, where we are battled all the time with physical struggles and, you know, social media and all the different things of the world, that it is a learning maturity process, and a part of that maturity is that trust. So there you go. I mean, that is normal everyday stuff. Then you come to born again. Believe it or not, the physical part obviously is wiped out, but everything is going to go through the same process as when you were born the first time, especially mentally, especially your soul, your spirit, everything. When it's born again, which is a great, great phrase, because you really do have to learn it all over again. You have to learn an entire new lifestyle. You have to go through all the different struggles that you went through in your first lifetime. It's almost like two different lifetimes, you know, when you become born again. And that's the way I see it. For me, there's a little bit difference in there, in that the first time that you are maturing, that you're learning life and learning how to deal with those struggles, it's right in front of your face. It is physical. The things you have to go through are physical. And it's easier if you can literally see what you're having to struggle against. When you're born again, most of that struggle is with your soul and with your spirit, which there is no physical presence of. There's nothing you can see to manifest what it is you're struggling against. It's all in the mind. It's all in the mind.
The battle's in the mind. Yeah.
The battle is in the mind, and it's all there. And you have to mature in this. Nobody becomes born again and automatically is maturely or spiritually mature. It just doesn't happen. Now, of course, you know, we've talked about it. I've said it a million times that Yeshua didn't say go out and get people saved. He said, go ye into all the world and make Talmudim. Okay, disciple people. Now, that's a little bit different story. So if you disciple somebody before they make that decision of being born again, they already kind of have a little bit of an edge there to know what they're getting into when they make that decision of it, and it helps them in their maturity process. And I kind of relate that to parents that have children, physical children, this firstborn. There, as we all know, there are very mature parents, and there are very, very immature parents. Okay, so the way the child grows and develops both physically and maturely is different from that. So you have to hope that when you're born again, you have a good, balanced understanding of what that means and what you're getting into. And I've used the phrase many times, though it's not in the Bible and people seem to think it is. No man goes into battle without first counting the cost. Okay? So when you are born again, you really have to go into battle. You have to learn that cost, and you have to spiritually go to it. When you're talking about, Why is this happening to me? I always know why. I never ask why. I know it's me. Yeah, I know it's not the Lord. And, talking about struggling against the Lord or struggling with the Lord, it's a whole lot more of the Lord struggling with me, because I'm the one who is at fault every time, no matter what. That, I think, if I were to ever teach or mentor a new person coming in, I think that would be my number one thing, is to realize the Lord is never at fault. The Lord knows it all. He knows it before it happens. He knows what you're going through. Any struggles and problems are not the Lord's fault. They have to do with you. Yeah, the Lord will put us through. He'll test us. He won't, what's James say? He won't put us through something that we can't handle, but he'll never test us with, I won't come to me right now. But the Lord is never going to be testing us with something that would cause discord in our life, that type of thing. It's more of things that we can go through. He would never test us with something that we couldn't go through. But that's for us to learn, not him. He's already seen our lives. He knows our lives. He knows what we're going to react when we do things. So in my head, very early, I learned that it's never the Lord's fault for anything that happens. Not fault. That word fault is your key word right there. If something has happened, it's on me. If something happened physically because of something, it had to be me, not him. And when you resolve that in yourself, if you can resolve that in yourself, and then I don't strive with the Lord. I really don't. I don't strive with the Lord. I know where I stand, and I have my discrepancies. There's things that am I willing to give him total trust and total control? I'm willing to, but it's more of once I fall into these things that I learn and I readjust myself and make sure that I remember when it comes around again or whatever like that. But when it comes down to struggling with the Lord, I've thought about this in detail, is that I don't struggle with it because I've resolved that the Lord is infallible, that God is infallible, Yeshua is infallible. There's nothing that can be made wrong out there at all. I think a lot of times about when the Lord said, I'll just wipe them all out and start over again, and it's kind of like, sometimes I wonder, but it just solidifies things with me more. And so I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I think there also comes to a point in your maturity after being born again. There's a maturity factor, hopefully, that you can reach that point where you and the Lord have an understanding. Okay? Yeah, I am not going to stress and worry and everything about pleasing God or not. After a certain point, I'm living my life the way I'm going to live, and this is the way it's going to be. Yeah, I'm learning and I'm adjusting based on life. I'm adjusting, but as long as the Lord knows, as long as the Lord and I have that kind of relationship with each other, I don't struggle with it. So there's my point. Is my advice to people that struggle is to get a good relationship with God. Talk to Him about it. Don't struggle with it. Talk to Him about it. And be patient. Let it work itself out. It will work itself out.
Well, that's good. I still think, though, that even if you believe God is sovereign and He's always right, that there are times, maybe inadvertently, but that you do sort of fight His leading or what He desires as a person. I'm not talking about you personally. I'm talking about people in general.
Sure.
You still believe He's sovereign. You do know He knows everything, but in the reality of it, it's sometimes we just don't trust, even though we think we know, and we never would put it into words. But there is still this trust factor that's deep within.
Well, this is why we raise our children in the admonition of the Lord. It's easier on them. It's easier on those that you raise with them going through that understanding of who the Lord is and the whole thing than a child that has never been influenced by all that. Right. A child that has never had a parent that told them anything about God, or most people these days, most children growing up, see religion as a negative thing.
That's true.
They're raised negatively towards religion. So when it comes to a point in their lives when they are confronted with this fact that, hey, you can live for the Lord and you can live in this lifestyle and it's so much better and everything, it's kind of like they already have it going against them. And that makes it real hard to trust God. Real hard. So it probably the best scripture in the entire Bible is raise your children in the admonition of the Lord and it will not depart from them. It's kind of like, preparation day.
Yeah.
It really is. What's you will violate Sabbath if you don't prepare for Sabbath. That's all there is to it. And it's the same thing with life. You have children, prepare them for life. And if you don't, I'm not going to say you're at fault, but you kind of are. You're responsible. So anyway, that's my point of view on that. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So, all right. Final word.
Just to strive or not to strive, to contend or not to contend. That is the question.
I was a contender. All right. We're going to jump ahead here into the unknown is where we're going to go. We'll be right back.
We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at His feet, dancing in the streets of gold. We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at His feet.
I love the music. I love all that. Anyway. All right, Sandy.
Yes.
What are we doing? What's up? What's going on? We didn't prepare very good today.
I don't know what's up.
We got so many things going on. It's kind of hard to prepare and get things together and doing stuff and all that kind of stuff. So, seen any good movies lately?
I haven't had time. Yeah.
You haven't had time to watch movies?
No.
Wait till you get to be 69, then you can just sit around and
Mark, you don't do that either, so whatever.
You what?
You're always working. You're always busy.
Well, let's put it this way. They used to call me 100-mile-an-hour man. Now I'm more like about 38 mile an hour. So, it just, and I'm fine with it. I'm good. I used to think, I'll be 100-mile-an-hour man until the day I die. No, and it's okay. It's okay. It's good.
Well, there is something happening on Shabbat on Saturday.
This Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's happening?
I thought you told us already.
What's that?
Is there an increase in number in your life?
This Saturday? Yeah, I'm turning 69.
So we wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. We love you. Happy birthday to you. Yeah.
69 is like kissing 70, Sandy. How old are you? Like 23?
57.
57. So when you hear the age, somebody tells you the age 69, does that, be honest, God is listening to us, Sandy. Be honest. Does the first thought that comes into your mind is old?
Not anymore, no.
Not anymore.
When I was younger, yes. But I'm 57 now. 69 is not that. It's fine. It's young.
Oh, no. Isn't that interesting that, at 20, you say, meet somebody and they're 69 and you don't say it, but in your back of your mind, oh, man, that guy's old, but and at 30, kind of the same way. And about every 10 years that number comes down in the old realm. Yeah.
Now, if you're 95, now maybe that's a little old, but that's blessed. But
yeah. Well,
yeah,
so define old then, I guess.
I think old is in mind, actually. You can have somebody that's young that's old.
Yeah.
Because of the way they think, because of the way they act, because of the words of their mouth.
That's true.
But also with age, I sure think somebody that's 69 has a lot more wisdom than a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old. and I could go up on number. I think when I hear numbers, I think, wow, they know a lot. They've been through a lot. They have something they could give me.
Yeah.
Or
good.
I have something I could give them. It's like right now I'm starting officially. I've been homeschooling Mariah since she was born, officially, teaching her along the way. But now it's official since she's 5. And I go to these homeschool for meetings for the last 3 weeks, and everybody's a young mom. And I'm starting round 2. And so they look and they go, oh, so you sort of know how to do all this. You've done this before. And I'm like, yes, I have. And so I'm the old timer because
I like it.
I'm with all these younger moms who are homeschooling, or even ones that are towards the end of their their kids, so seniors in high school homeschooling. But I'm still way beyond that. My kid's 34. I did that. I already did that. And now I'm with a 5-year-old, and there's wisdom in age. That's all I can say. And I am Mariah is so much like her father that I know some of the battles that I have to face with that type A, going, never still personality.
Okay.
And so I've told Mariah she did something the other day, and I said, Mariah, we're not playing that game. I learned with your dad. It looked at me with Daddy. I said, yes, I did. I said, I know that game.
Wow.
Again, but I'm easier too. With the age, it comes a confidence in knowing who you are and where you've been, and
that's right.
And you're chill. There's a chill factor. I'm much more chill this time around than I was the first time around. So wisdom, age is good. Age is a good thing.
Yeah, that's just what I was talking about earlier. I mean, I'm not 100-mile-an-hour man anymore, So
Bob said you still have platinum blonde hair.
Yeah.
Flowing platinum blonde hair.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And it looks good too. My last haircut's pretty good haircut. She came in a little. Anyway, Adina, my wife, has been in Oklahoma for a while. She's taking care and doing things with my daughter and her two sons. And last week, my daughter and her husband went on a cruise. And so they were gone all week long, and Adina had the boys all week. So she kind of had a taste of and the kids have already started homeschool and everything. So, and she, well, we both did, but mostly she homeschooled Sarah, our daughter, so it's kind of the same thing with what she's doing now is helping and raising and doing the whole thing. Go ahead.
Isn't that the way it was? I mean, we look at the tent.
Yeah.
The families lived close, and you were in the family business. You did the family thing. The men and the women worked together, and everybody worked together, and you grew and you learned and you helped, and we've gotten away from that. So because of the way society is today, of course. But
yeah, well, we're just living in a whole different generations, and there's a whole nother subject for you. But
yeah,
I just I don't know. And when you say that, it puts to mind that there are a lot of people that are in the same general area. I know your mom lives a ways away from you, but you're all still in the same general area. Right. Whereas, and I think it might be that way probably for the majority of families these days, to the point where they can help and do different things. But for instance, like Adina and I, we live 1,500 miles away from all of our family. I only have my brother and my daughter is my only immediate family that I have left anymore. But all of Adina's family, and there's a lot of them, are all right there around that Oklahoma area. See, and so it's kind of a struggle between the two of us, because I want to be out here. I don't really have anything but Sarah and the boys to go back to and see. My only deal is that I despise the Midwest. I just despise it, so I don't want to live there. But and I don't know, it's where your priorities are, I guess.
Yeah, well, I grew up the same way you're talking now. We left Nebraska when I was 5, and that's where a lot of my family was. And then some moved about 1,500 miles away, but we left. So we're 700-800 miles from all mom and dad's family. So we grew up sort of isolated, isolated from everyone. It was just us.
Yeah.
There was not one family member anywhere near. And so when I think about it, that to me, that was the familiars, that you're alone on an island. There's nobody else around that's family. And so I understand that feeling and that idea where you're 1,500 miles from your child, and it's a long way. So I've actually thought, there are times I just want to move. Let's just move sometime. And we've tried that before, and it's never worked out. Yah always wants us to stay here. He does right now. But I don't know that I can leave not only my congregation, but my son and daughter-in-law and my granddaughter, and now the new baby that's coming. I now, if Yah ever tells us to go, we're going to go. But even Jonathan, this is what's amazing. He has always been sort of that we would all move as a unit.
Yeah.
So, that's always been sort of his mentality, is that If he goes or we go, we all go together. So,
Yeah.
which is cool. It's cool.
So let me ask you then. You said, and I hear this all the time. For years and years, I've heard this. If the Lord tells me to, I'll do it. What would be that the Lord would have to do or say to you that would that you would know this is the Lord? Let me wait before you answer. Do you really know, or would it just have to happen when it happens?
I think I know because first off,
Really?
I do. I'll give you an example. There was a congregation we were pastoring in, a temporary pastoring, and the temporary pastoring was a year or two. And the pastor was back, and before he got back, I had this feeling inside, oh, I think it's time to go. And that Yah's leading me somewhere else. And then I was like, no, I want to be where I'm at. And I guess it's sort of what we're talking about. It's sort of a striving, but it was an uneasiness. There was no longer that shalom that rested there. I was just like, I think we need to go. And John and I talked a little bit, but both of us just felt like this, but we didn't move. And it wasn't until later, because we didn't follow that spiritual shalom, that follow the Holy Spirit, because he's always talking. We're just not always listening. We're not tuned in. It ended up being where we had to move because there was a showdown. The showdown would have never happened had when we begin to feel that thing, feel that God was just closing this door and opening a different one. If we would have left at that time, there never would have been a showdown. And we've talked about that, how we should have listened and recognized that Yah was doing something. He was closing a door, and he put that within us and really prayed and sought and followed through with that. But instead we would squelch it and we'd put it behind and we'd let it go. And I'm one who sets roots, and I don't like to move once my roots are down. And so it was probably more me than anybody. It was like, no, let's just stay. Let's just stay. I know maybe let's just stay. But in that case, I knew Yah wanted us to move, and I put my foot down. And I've experienced that here and there. And there's just sometimes there's just this knowing and this, and then when you pray, sometimes that peace leaves you because you are supposed to move on. And then doors open. When we've tried to knock on those doors before and move, we've actually sought out other things, and it's just, things just don't open up. Things don't happen. And so we're like, okay, we wanted to, but that's our flesh that wants to leave, and we can't leave. So I do believe that you can know. I do believe that, but you have to be tuned in. It's just like when I'm driving down the road, I always pray. I say, Father, let me be so tuned into you that if you whisper, turn left, I turn left. And there'll be times that I'm driving, because that's always a prayer. I pray it almost every day. Let me know where you're at. And it'll be like, turn here. And in my mind, I'm like, that's not the way I normally go. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to turn here because I don't know what's there. But I'm having to practice. I think we're always practicing, learning to recognize that still small voice. And I still miss it. I still miss it sometimes. And then in hindsight, I go, oh, that's what that was. I can't tell you how many times. Okay. Yeah, I heard that, and I should have moved, and I continued down however I wanted to continue in life. And I remember even saying that in the last year. I was like, oh yeah, okay, now I see that God was telling me to do this, and I just sort of thought it was my flesh because I wasn't paying attention. And so it's practicing his presence, practicing hearing. And so I try to want him to practice on me the small things now, because if I can be tuned into the small thing, I want to be ready and practice for the big things. Go, Sandi. Go, John.
Right.
Do. But it's learning and practicing, growing up. So
It's the maturity levels that we were talking about before.
right.
Very true. And listening to you, I'm thinking of a couple of different times, that's very similar. things have happened. For instance, when we moved from Kansas to Oklahoma, which changed our lives. But it was interesting because both Adina and I knew that we were in Southeast Kansas where all our families were. Both of our families were all in that general area. We were settled. We were good. We had a home that was paid for, the whole thing. And yet we were now engulfed in the Messianic lifestyle. It was kind of new to us, and we were learning. And it was back when the internet was just starting up, and we were moving into all of that and everything. But yet our daughter was young, and we, in the area where we were at, we were extremely limited on who our daughter was going to be able to associate with, which we weren't crazy about in our lifestyle. So we want to expand our lifestyle in Adina and I's lifestyle, but also in our daughter. We want our daughter to grow up in the lifestyle that we now possessed. And so that's when, long story short, we decided we wanted to move to Oklahoma, and we decided that the Lord, of all the different places, this is where we felt more comfortable that the Lord wanted us to be, to expand our knowledge and understanding in the Messianic lifestyle. So I went to Oklahoma and spent I think I spent like 4 or 5 days with Lion Lamb, with Monty and Phil and everybody, searching out the land and everything, what we would do and how we would do it. And I came back and I told Adina, we're not moving. We're not going to do it. I don't feel comfortable with it. It's like I know we're supposed to do this, but I'm not sure now is the timing. And I got back like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and Friday, Monty called me and we had a long talk. And through his talk, I gained an understanding of where the Lord was leading me, because I was almost blocking that part of it. Whereas Monty always has a way of helping me to understand. And that's one of the things I always had respect for him for. And we ended up moving down there and changed our lives, and it was all for the better. I mean, our whole lives became wide open and everything. Even Lamb is a part of us moving there. And so I think that because we were obedient in that doing that, because that's what the Lord wanted, then he also gives us the desires of our heart. And the desires of our heart was to eventually live in North Carolina, which was real hard to pack up and go. And I mean, we even left Oklahoma to go to Southeast Kansas to build the tiny house, and then lived in the tiny house for 2.5 years. But our desire was to live in North Carolina. So I think he gives us the desire. It was easy enough to get here where we're at. Now we're struggling with the fact that our family is there. Mm-hmm. We're out here. So we're still going through all of that. It's just, you listen to the Lord, and your maturity tells you whether or not you're listening to the Lord or not. That's where it's at to me. So.
That's true. Well, see, y'all filled this time because we're talking about hearing his voice, and
that's right.
Going when he says go, and doing when he says do, saying what he says. Yes.
I think we've done enough shows to know that all we got to do is start talking. And
That
it'll
is true.
get out. It's happened, what, a few hundred times, I think?
I would think so. Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, we're down to it, down to the last few minutes here. We only got another couple of weeks. So let me look at this. What do we got going for the next couple of weeks of, are we going to do a show? My gosh, everything is wrong here. Here we go. We're going to do a show next week?
Yes.
We are. Good. I love it. Okay, so we're doing a show next week, and then the following week we won't be. So next week will be our last show until Sukkot.
Till after Sukkot, yes.
Till after Sukkot, yeah. So just letting everybody know, and I need to get a promo made up. We've got promos for our war room, but I need to get one. Lamb will be shut down during Sukkot except for about 4 live shows that people will be doing because most everybody is leaving and going out for
As
Sukkot.
we're commanded.
So as we're commanded to do. And so hopefully next year it'll be a whole different story. But this year there's about 4 shows that will be live, and we'll have a new schedule up for everybody. So that's coming up. Also, I want to let everybody know that this coming Sunday, and I think we still have enough time to do this real quick. This coming Sunday is a special presentation with Sam Nadler. Here's a quick promo. Sam Nadler is really good. Yeah, he's been on Lamb, I think, about 4 times now through Basora, and I've always been impressed with, what he taught. His books that he's got out and everything is really good. I'm looking forward to this Sunday. But Sandy, in November, we have a conference that you're going to be a part of, Alive in Messiah, and here's the promo for that.
Again to these dry bones, breath of God from the 4 winds blow. Breathe life again to these dry bones, breath of God from the 4 winds blow. Breathe life again to these dry bones, breath of God from the 4 winds blow. Breathe life again to these dry bones.
Always cut us tight. We'll see you all next week. God bless. Have a great week, Sandy. We'll see you then.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan